There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonko table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonko table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, everyone. That is the voice of your Yonko host, Dr. Jay Saturni. And today's episode is a little bit different, a little bit out of the norm for what we're usually used to. We're going to be doing a bit of somewhat of a honorary piece to the late passing of famed mangaka, famed manga author Akira Toriyama. For those that are not in the know, he recently passed away this week, specifically from a subdural hematoma. And for those that are not aware of his work, he is the author of hit series such as Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump. He's done work on video games, movies, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger. This man's work has known no limits, and he's inspired so many other animes and other forms of fiction in the medium that I feel like words cannot put into comparison. It's really hard to just really elaborate on how influential this man's work is for a lot of the things that we're into. But I am not alone in this endeavor. With me to assist in honoring the late Akira Toriyama is Grandmaster, fan of Akira Toriyama. Yay, nay? I was assuming yay.
Absolutely yay. And then even if you're not a fan of, like you say, Dragon Ball franchise, half the media that we consume today, whether it's Western or Eastern animation or just about anything, you can find a trail back to the work of Akira Toriyama. He's very influential in the world of fiction, and the man deserves the utmost praise for his contribution. So yes, big fan of his work, big fan of his legacy, and may he rest in peace.
Very well put. Very well put. And we're not alone in this endeavor today. We have a full house of supernovas here to join us as well. And let's get into it. I didn't want it to be too much of a depressing pod. I don't know how much this news affected the rest of you guys here, but I at least wanted the pod to be somewhat of a celebration of Toriyama's work and kind of like our take on like paying respects to the legacy he more or less left behind. And it just like his news of him passing just came all of a sudden, right? It really just reminds us that these people, as much as we praise them, they're not immortal. At least for me, growing up with authors like Akira Toriyama, Masashi Kishimoto for Naruto, Ichiro Oda for One Piece, because they were there since your childhood. At least for me, I've always seen them as like, oh, they're always going to be there. They were there when I was born. They're not going anywhere. Now, obviously, the human condition and death and everything, eventually that catches up. But seeing that happen now to one of the biggest authors, the biggest creators of the anime medium, it just kind of reminds you like of mortality in general. Because the man was only 68 years old, which is just crazy the more you think about it. But where do you guys sit on the Toriyama fandom? Are you guys like Dr. Slump fans? I'm assuming from the backgrounds, probably mostly Dragon Ball, which is totally okay. But where do you guys sit in all of this, in wake of like the news or just Dragon Ball in general, or your fandom with Toriyama? How do you guys feel?
Like, so big Dragon Ball Z fan, like literally, I'm pretty sure it was like the intro to anime to the majority of us here. And like, since I was a little kid, basically dressing up as Goku, becoming a Super Saiyan, putting like blonde styling glue that was horrendously difficult to then take off just to become a Super Saiyan. But also kind of like what's wild is that like the day before they announced like his death, I started watching on Netflix the Dragon Quest anime. And
Oh, wow.
it was like so wild. I was just like watching it and I was like, oh, I'm getting into this. And then like the day after, it's like Akira Toriyama like sadly passed away. So didn't get enough time to become like a super fan of Dragon Quest, but Dragon Ball Z definitely was my childhood. It introduced me to anime, which I'm totally in right now. And wow, like I still follow Super. Like, yeah, rest in power, Toriyama.
Yeah, for me, it was the same in the sense of he just kind of grew up with Toriyama and his
Right.
work, especially with Dragon Ball Z. And for me, it connected with me so much, and it was impactful for me. The news, because I still remember when I was an elementary kid, I actually was introduced to Dragon Ball even before Z. So
Oh, wow. OG
at
Dragon
the
Ball first.
yeah, at the
Wow.
library, I was at the library and they had a couple, never seen the manga, had a couple copies of Dragon Ball, like a couple, and they weren't in order or anything. And so I'm
Right.
like this elementary kid, and obviously I'm looking at the pictures and I love the design, right? um, but I'm going through it and I remember I finished every it only had like 5 total like volumes, but I finished like every volume they had in the library. And I'm like, I want more and more, and insert
Nice.
Z in the show. And so I kind of progressed um, from Dragon Ball to Z, which Z dominated all of our lives, right?
Easily.
And still, even with Super, even though I don't keep up as much, like with media and video games and everything like that, like it's been so ingrained in a part of my life that if something's going on Dragon Ball related, you got my attention at least for a little bit. Except Dokkan Battle. No, I'm just kidding.
Put some respect on Dokkan Battle, the hit
Uh,
anime mobile game based off
no.
of Dragon Ball.
But he influenced me as just being an artist and being a creative, and a heavy influence for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think for me, speaking of video games, I actually played Chrono Trigger before. So
Oh, nice.
uh, the fact that, well, I didn't really associate Akira Toriyama to it until later on that I figured out that like the characters, well, he he was a designer for the characters when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So uh, basically, I knew about Dragon Ball Z and then Dragon Ball, so I had to like rewatch the whole thing. But later on, it hit me. It's like, wait, this character looked kind of familiar, and I never actually played, never finished Chrono Trigger, but I definitely like consider the resemblance and everything else. Um, so for me, knowing of his death. Oh, I'm not sure if you guys actually follow this or anything like that, but on Twitter or X now, there's the Goku account that whenever somebody passes away that's famous, they always mention, oh, like this person, creator of so and so, passed through the checkout station, and
Oh,
then
I seen that. Yeah. So what
yeah,
is it?
once it posted about Akira Toriyama passing the checkout station, that actually like that kind of hit me. I was just like, oh, wow, this is actually happening. So yeah, it's one of those things that like you never expect it in reality, and it's one of those things that we also want to celebrate because they definitely lived a good life, and I'm definitely here for it for sure.
No, for sure. I mean, I do know about that Twitter page that you're talking about, where I always see it every now and then. They'll say like a famous person passed by King Emma's check-in, or they're on Snake Way or whatever, but seeing Toriyama's name on there was like really, it's like, wow, he's he's there on the list. So it definitely hit different. I mean, kind of similar to Rose. Like I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z. Like I can't pinpoint the exact moment of DBZ that I got into. I know I was like I had to have been like in kindergarten or like preschool or whatever, but the manga I remember in a similar scenario, like in middle school, I didn't know about I, I didn't know that some anime was based off of Japanese comic books, manga. So going to middle school, I remember going to like my library in the middle school and I saw copies of OG Dragon Ball with Goku as a kid, and it blew my mind. I'm like, whoa, there's there's a story where he's like a child instead. And it's based off a comic book. And it I remember starting like a collection of manga from there, and I was so obsessed with it. And I reread the Dragon Ball manga, not from the library. They only had like 1 or 2 volumes, kind of like yours. But like collecting the volumes, I've read from start to finish Dragon Ball like easily 10 to 15 times minimum. And I've never done that with any other series growing up. But yeah, I mean, Grandmaster, did you watch I know you have your story your story.
Oh yeah, I know. I've shared that story a couple of times on the pod.
Go ahead, just do it one more time. Do it. Go
Oh
ahead.
sure. Dragon Ball Z was popping. It was hot. It was cool. My household was very strict on the Y7 rule and whatnot.
The TV Y7.
Yeah, we were not 7. I think Dragon Ball Z was rated Y7. And we begged our father, my brother and I, to watch Dragon Ball Z. And he said, all right, if I see 10 acts of violence, we're shutting it off. And so it was the episode with Imperfect Cell, and he's sucking away people's life force and whatnot. And so the episode opens with him going on the football bus full of football players, and he's like, "Oh yes, plasma! I get to," and he kills everybody on the bus. And my brother goes, "All right, Dad, that's one." And he's like, "That's one. That's 32. He killed the whole football team. We're turning it off." So from there, it was very much watch. Have that last button on cue, ready to go, just in case somebody walks in, sees us watching. So yeah, that's I would say that's my most significant introduction for sure. But I think this might be only me, but I don't know about y'all, but I think this is like the first author death that has really hit me in a sense.
It's been mine.
I don't know.
I would say
many
celebrity
authors.
deaths for me.
Well, when I categorize it to authors that I grew up reading their work or familiarizing with their written bodies, I think this is my first author death, and I feel that says something because celebrities, you're only in their worlds that they portray in movies if we're talking about actors and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, it is very easy to engross yourself into the world of an author. We all could see ourselves flying around and powering up and whatnot.
The one that comes to mind.
Jalen.
My name is Jalen. No. My name is Jalen.
Does everybody know that video? Does everybody know that video?
Oh, that video is iconic.
The iconic.
Classic.
I really thought he did it. I thought he made it. I was like, wow, he did it. He's there, right? He's ascended.
He achieved what we couldn't.
And so with that said, I feel like that's why this hits for me, is because an author, their work, it really much transcends generations. We talk about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Those all came out before we were born. We just didn't know. We were dumb and thought it was coming out at the time we were watching.
Right.
No, it probably had like good couple of years on us before we started watching, which is crazy. So yeah, that's how I look at this. And so as we continue, I'm sure we're going to talk about kind of the grander scope of just how Toriyama really paved the way in a lot of areas.
I mean, he really did. His influence I mean, because this story of Dragon Ball, if you're talking about his penmanship, like when he finally put down the pen for Dragon Ball, like drawing the manga, it was like I think 1991, 1992. And obviously the anime was still adapting it, so you have up to like what I think like 95 or something for the anime airing in Japan. But I mean, ever since then, like video games, continued stories. This thing is over 30 years old, which is crazy. I mean, because I know growing up, a lot of us played like probably some of the video games, like
Like
Budokai.
still like Budokai and Tenkaichi still to this day are like some of the funnest fighter games I've ever played in my life.
Budokai
Tenkaichi
3.
3.
No,
Tenkaichi 3.
I like to
There
argue
we go.
Budokai
Oh,
3
Tenkaichi
is the-
3.
I think it's with Budokai
Wait.
3. I'm on Budokai 3.
Budokai 3
I'll
is the
give her-
cleanest.
I'm Tenkaichi.
Just the cover itself.
My
iconic.
first Budokai was my first game for the PlayStation 2. We got the PlayStation 2 at the house,
Nice.
and I could only get one game. That was it to start out, and it was Budokai.
That's
And me
the
and my
one.
brother played each other, and I played my neighbors. I played the heck out of Budokai over and over again.
And you know it's crazy, like some of these games weren't even good. Budokai 1 was terrible. But I loved
Don't
it.
matter.
I loved it. No, I still loved it. I still loved it as a kid. But I think that's the power of Dragon Ball.
Was Budokai 2 the one that you could do like the random fusions with God knows every
You could do fusion. Yeah, you could do
Fuel.
Goku, Ten,
Yeah, Tien and Gotenks together.
Tien,
That was
and
just- that was
Yamcha.
hilarious.
Tien and Yamcha, yeah.
Well, I think that's also when Super Buu can like absorb anybody as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's true.
There was a gag, and I mean, you could really only get away with this in Dragon Ball, I feel like, and I always wish like other anime games, whether at the time or later, did something like this. But you had a gag in Budokai 1 where Cell, it's like a what if scenario where when Cell tries to absorb, I think it's Android 18. I think he's trying to absorb either 18 or 17. He tries to absorb one of them, and Krillin, no, it was 18. It was 18. Krillin pushes 18 out of the way. This is Budokai 1. Krillin pushes 18 out of the way, and Cell absorbs Krillin by accident. And for some reason, because it's Krillin, like he actually morphs into like a Krillin Cell. So he's shorter. He's orange. He has like the dots,
6 dots
on
yeah.
his forehead. And it's like, what the hell? And then you play as him. You play like he's like, oh my god, I'm weaker. I absorbed Krillin, and he has to fight. I don't know, Android 16 or something. I don't know, but it was just something silly, like something dumb like that. And I feel like that's the fun of Dragon Ball. You get, because it started off as a gag manga. It was made for gags. Had its tones of seriousness here and there, but it was fun, and I think that was the biggest thing about it. Like I loved how this guy, and this was anime only, but I liked how this behemoth of a guy that could like blow up planets and punch you through a mountain, yet in the anime he's afraid of needles. He's afraid of getting shots, and I'm like, oh god, this guy's a child, and I love it. What about like in the series in general? Like, did you guys have like all-time like peak moments? Like this is what hooked me on anime, or this is what hooked me on Dragon Ball Z. Like for me, to this day, nothing is ever going to top Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 for the first time against Cell and doing the father-son Kamehameha with Goku. But right there in Bombastic's background, he already knows. That to me just screams iconic.
Whenever he just walks, just goes just forward,
Just walking.
pressing with one arm too. It's just iconic. Just all insane. I think that whole series, isn't it? I mean, the whole saga is actually just captivating
It's really
general.
good.
Because it's foretold even before that, in the Saiyan saga, how Gohan is more like a passive, more like um just pacifist kind of thing person, and just whenever 16 talks to him, telling him, hey, like you're gonna have to let go.
I love
And
this
just
world,
before
Let
Gohan.
let go of your anger.
and right after his death is when it happens, that iconic like red line going behind him,
Oh, the
and
line.
Yeah.
it was just that
Like
moment was just like
the most iconic scenes, definitely that one. Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation.
A classic.
Of course.
That is just
Yeah.
Also,
OG.
like, I'm a huge Vegeta fan. The Final Flash, I just love the Final Flash.
The
Like,
music in there is still crazy.
no, yeah, like Vegeta's first Final Flash is out of this, just absolutely destroyed.
The pride of a Saiyan.
No, but there's so many iconic moments in Dragon Ball Z. Like the transformations are out of this world. Also, Goku's Super Saiyan 3 that's just like shaking up the entire planet Earth, and you see his hair just like growing, and then he's just like, yeah, I have no eyebrows now. My my hair is all the way down
Listen,
my back.
you
And you're like, what the hell just happened?
you're too young if you did not used to go up into forums online looking up Super Saiyan 5, 6, 7,
Super Saiyan 5, like blue hair, red
white hair.
white hair.
If you learned how to
that was
count,
like so long it would cover the entire planet.
if you learned how to count and you were a fan of Dragon Ball Z, the
Bro.
limit did not exist.
Yeah, like
Just
They
potential,
kept
the
going, it
potential was
never stopped.
endless. Absolutely endless.
your imagination was only limited by how far you could count. Super Saiyan 1022. Like, come on.
I think it got that. There's Super Saiyan 99, the one where the guy's floating and it's just like a wall of hair behind him.
Oh yeah, I used to just make triangles or diamonds that would connect
Yes,
and
the
be-
spikes, right?
Yeah, it'd be the spikes, and it would
yes.
take up the whole background of the page.
It's oh my god.
But
I-
it's so iconic. Just everything. He always one ups himself in the story to where
right.
the
Yeah.
next piece of iconography was either gonna match or be more than the previous one.
And wait, and let's not forget, like we're talking about like Ultra Instinct. Ultra
Super, yeah.
Ultra
I mean,
Instinct
yeah.
was when he finally like fully goes Ultra Instinct. That's iconic.
Well,
Yeah.
we were just talking about this the other day, Rose and I, because we watched that whole Tournament of Power arc when we watched it in the house. It was
Oh
on
yeah,
Crunchyroll.
yeah.
Dr.
Oh,
Jace, you might have
nice.
tuned in for one or two.
I think I came in a couple times because I remember doing videos on it.
Yeah, I
and
was
then
gonna say
rushing
you were
over.
doing videos at the time, but I know you probably made it a couple times. But
Yeah.
that was like a sporting event. That whole tournament arc.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
with Ultra Instinct, because it came out of nowhere, right? There was no build up towards Ultra Instinct. It debuted in that tournament.
There
It-
kind of was.
There was
kinda-
build up. Yeah.
It's
Like-
it was like mentions of it.
Mentions. Yeah.
it's-
Like
it's kind of
No,
mentioned
with
something.
and Beerus, it was alluded to, but when it debuted, it shook the internet, and then we're like, we got to see it again, and we got it 2 more times within that tournament, and I think the internet crashed or Crunchyroll
the
crashed.
Crunchyroll crashed. Like you could not and I remember this because I was trying to do a video on the freaking episode. Like if I remember correctly, the episode when he first, well, not full Ultra Instinct, but like the first one, the Ultra Instinct sign, right?
Yeah.
The one where he first activated it. That was episode I think 109 and 110 of Super. The episodes usually aired at like I think not 8 or 9 p.m. on Saturday, Eastern time. And I remember when the episode dropped, you could not watch it on Crunchyroll until like 2 a.m. in the morning. That's how bad their servers crashed. That's how many people were tuning in. And going to Dr. Mondo's point, They had watch party, and I feel like this goes understated too much. They have watch parties in so many Latin and South American countries that it's a full auditorium of people just watching Goku versus Jiren. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, and it's crazy. You don't see that with anything else. You could name me your best, like, oh, the other, this One Piece. You don't get that with One Piece. You don't get that with Naruto. You don't get that with anything else. And it's crazy to see a series that has been going since the 80s to pull in. Like that episode was in 2018, and it still pulled in that many people. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah. Like that, the Tournament of Power saga. Bruh.
I felt like a kid again. I felt like I was.
Yeah.
That was truly because
They
like
did a great job.
I remember like in Super, a lot of people were like, it's not as good as Z. Then comes Tournament of Power. Bruh.
Yeah, like
oh yeah, he upped the ante with that.
Like he said, okay, you want old school? Here you go. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then right after that, Broly.
Oh man, Broly, the
Broly.
2018 movie. I mean, Broly was already.
Oh my god, what a movie!
Broly, like, I mean, I don't know where you guys stand when it comes to like the OG movies of Dragon
They're
Ball
all
Z.
serviceable to a degree.
You watch it for the fights. You're not watching it.
You watch it
for
for the fight.
It's
And,
writing.
The first Broly movie, like the first, like real old Broly,
The legendary Super
the
Saiyan.
legendary
Broly.
Super Saiyan. That movie, that fight. My God,
That was
The transformation was
But-
the
like,
transformation,
insane.
and then like Broly wiping the floor. Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan Vegeta, Super Saiyan Trunks, Super Saiyan Gohan, plus Piccolo.
But correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of those old movies, Toriyama was not writing those, right?
he wasn't writing them, but in terms of design of the villains, he had a lot of influence in the design. So like I'm pretty sure for Z Broly, he designed the Dragon Ball fan is gonna come for my throat if I'm not accurate on this. I'm pretty sure he helped design Z Broly back then, and even some of the other villains from the movies. Could be wrong, probably got to get fact checked, but I'm pretty
I
sure.
only ask because the Broly movie, back to the Broly movie, is written by him. He did the screenplay
for the Super
the Super Broly movie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think you can tell the difference
Yeah,
between when he
Yes.
gets his hands on.
It actually has a
No.
script. It has a story.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
and like Broly's
Mhm.
actually like a character in like the
Right.
Super Broly, because like in the first like legendary Super Saiyan, like Broly's a mindless killing machine that's borderline, like he's just unstable, waiting to crack, and he cracks him well.
It's a money grab. They said,
It's a money-
let's get a
It's a
10-foot
great, like, it
Super
was a great,
Saiyan.
like the fight was amazing. You didn't watch it for the script, you didn't watch it for the plot. You watched it for all the key blast that went on there and the mindless destruction, and it did a
Listen,
fantastic job. of that.
They knew what they were doing. I think from 1986 was the first Dragon Ball movie. There was a Dragon Ball related movie up until 1995 with Wrath of the Dragon being the last
Right.
Oh yeah.
movie, and then it wouldn't be
Dragon
until
Fist.
Resurrection F. I'm sorry, Battle of the Gods.
Battle of the Gods,
yeah.
and then like came like Resurrection F. And
You
I think
don't want to
after
count
that
Dragon
one
Ball
was
Evolution?
Broly.
Oh, Dragon Ball
I was
Evolution. No,
about
thank
to say
you.
that.
And if we're over here commemorating Akira Toriyama, we
Go
do him a
ahead.
service by not mentioning that movie.
Well, Justin Chatwin, the best portrayal of Goku ever seen on television. It's funny that he even paid respect
he
to
better.
Toriyama.
He better.
Oh, for
like,
sure, yeah.
Well, it's funny because like he did it, and he's like, by the way, we're really sorry we dropped the ball with Dragon Ball Evolution. And it's like, it's so tongue in cheek, and it's
Is
like,
that what he said?
Yeah, he said that. He
Oh,
said
that's kind
that.
of funny.
He
That's
said,
how-
R.I.P. to Toriyama, but also, by the way, really sorry that we messed up with Evolution.
As long as he's aware.
He is aware. He is
is
aware. So that was super funny to see something like that from him.
It's heartfelt. And, like it's supposed to be taken
Yeah.
not seriously, but also I'm glad he's acknowledging the travesty that was that movie.
Or maybe he was carrying that weight for a long time and he had to get
He
it
needed
off.
to get it off his
Yeah,
chest.
most likely, yeah.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But I mean, outside of like, because we could go back and forth like all day on like iconic moments. Like I feel like you could start from as early as Dragon Ball, like with the World Tournament arc and the thing with
Yeah.
Piccolo,
Super Dragon Fist.
Super
You get it.
Dragon Fist. There's so
Ozaru.
many to
Ozaru
count.
was a moment.
Ozaru, yes, Giant Ape, 100%.
The
These were
first,
all big
like
ones.
the first Kamehameha wave.
Yeah.
The
Correct.
first one when he blew up the moon, was that the first one?
That was not
no.
the
Or when
first
he
one.
when he hit the he the fire surrounding
Who
the
did
castle.
that? Who did
Who are you
that?
talking about specifically?
Roshi did it. Roshi did it.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
All right.
And Goku
They were
first
gonna go
did
for
it.
your throat.
I know Goku first did it on the car, right?
On the car, yeah.
On the car,
Correct.
yeah.
You Googled it. You Googled
I did not
it.
Google it. No, I listen. When
The
Dragon
fight-
Ball
well-
first came, when Dragon Ball first came on Toonami, I was like, "Whoa, they made a prequel." Whoa, cool. Little
Yo,
did I know
like,
that it actually.
The fight
came
against
first.
King Piccolo. That's also
Demon King Piccolo. Yeah. There's.
that's iconic.
I mean, there's so y'all want to know a fun like it's funny how we keep throwing the word around of iconography. You want to know a fun fact about Super Saiyan? Like when Toriyama was initially like conceiving the idea of it. What the reason why Goku's hair is blonde is not because Toriyama was trying to tie it to like, oh yeah, it's gonna be blonde because it ties back to Sun Wukong and Journey to the West. Or there wasn't a complicated reason. The reason why he made it blonde is because manga are in black and white. Goku's hair is black.
It was easier to.
It was easier to make his hair white, and so he doesn't have to ink his hair in anymore. And he's like, oh yeah, let's just make it like a clear color. And
Genius.
What a goat.
who like it blows
What a
my
goat.
mind. What a goat.
You know
Like,
those accidents that turn out to be something really great later on. That's
it's insane. Like, how do you like? Oh man, that's just so funny.
That kind of reminds me a little bit. It's like this, like of the movie Air when they're just saying like like things about Nike and they say just do it. It's like and there's like this very complicated. No, just do it was just like a prisoner on death row that like in the electric chair. They just said just do it. And they
It has very simple origins. It's so
Well,
crazy.
I think that's also part of what makes Dragon Ball franchise so great is that it is very simplistic in nature. I feel the themes are not as complex as what some
even the names of the characters. It's
Trunks.
like Trunks.
Oh well, okay.
Frieza.
Hold up.
That
Let's
is-
break it down like this. Trunks comes from a family of clothing. There's Trunks, there's Bulma briefs, there's
Yeah.
Bra, then you have Frieza. They're all cold related.
Yeah.
Cooler.
All his
Piccolo.
men are things that you can find in a freezer. So like a pool, oh my god,
What's a Zarbon?
Raspberry. I don't know what Zarbon's
So like
based off of, but I know
radish
it
was a
is.
radish.
They're vegetables. Good
Yeah,
amount of
vegetables.
vegetables.
Kakarot was
Broly.
like carrot. It's
Piccolo and his family are instruments.
Right, tambourine,
Symbol.
symbol.
Who is Jason?
Majin Buu. Majin Buu is freaking Cinderella.
Yeah.
Bibbidi,
Bibbidi,
bobbidi,
bobbidi.
boo.
Yeah.
Zarbon is a Japanese fruit called pomelo.
Okay.
What about Berter and Jace?
Berter and Jace. Let's see. Berter
All right,
and Jace.
Berta, come on.
I mean, well, that the butter.
Oh, is that what that? So it's
I
Jason.
I can see
just-
that.
I think it is. It should.
That makes
be.
Wow.
sense.
Let me see. Ginyu. Butter is butter. Guldo is supposed to be yogurt.
Wow.
Jace. Oh, Jace is cheese, I guess. Cheese.
Hey,
Interesting.
Hey, my name is Jace.
I don't. Raccoon. Japanese name Rikumu, rearranged for Kurimu, which means cream.
So they literally can be found in a freezer.
They
Wow.
could be found in a freezer. That was
What a-
something I learned like fairly recently, which is really cool. It's like, oh wow, a freezer. And these are all things you can find in like a refrigerator. And it's just you don't think about it. But then when
sure
you
don't.
do,
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, it's bananas. But I mean, the series is iconic. We keep saying it's iconic, but you even see it in the things that came out afterwards.
Mhm.
Like it established so many things that we take for granted to a degree. Like, you know, we mentioned like transformations, the concept of adventure, tournament arcs. I mean, you don't live in a world with One Piece and Naruto without Dragon Ball. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist. Or if it does, it's nothing to where it looks like right now.
Like in Naruto, like come on, like the Chunin exams, like Naruto's 9-tail transformations, like all
Yeah.
that. You
I mean, you don't even have to go as far as to the arcs. Look at Naruto's design.
yeah.
His orange and blue getup. It's literally the same
That
getup
that
as
one's pretty
Goku.
on the nose.
It was.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not even trying to hide it. I'm full disclosure. I like
Like
Goku.
Kishimoto's like, I love you, dude. Here you go.
While Kishimoto was writing the story of Naruto, they did like a tour of his office. He has a giant statue of Frieza in his office, just a final form Frieza. The man
Who,
wears it on his
Kishimoto?
sleeve. Kishimoto, yeah, Kishimoto.
Oh yeah.
When
okay.
when he was writing like OG Naruto.
I get it. Where else do you look in the world of manga and you want to make a action oriented this expansive world? You look to Dragon Ball. It literally set so much precedence in every single, I would like to say every single shonen, but I really think you can really make the argument for a lot of other animes too. And it can be subtle ones. It could be very on point in your face type. I like to think we mentioned tournament arcs. You can go down the list of like a lot of animes and pinpoint the tournament arc.
Yeah.
Or pinpoint, what the arc where they're training, if there's a training arc. Dragon Ball Z, specifically Z, set the action bar high. Like, we look at it like Jujutsu Kaisen is, currently probably killing it right now in terms of anime tier fights. You don't have Jujutsu Kaisen without Goku and Vegeta duking it out, like you don't have that. I like to point out one of the greatest little influential bits of Dragon Ball, I would like to say, is the idea of the rival character, which is to a degree you can argue Piccolo Jr., but more or less it was, if Piccolo Jr. was the template, Vegeta was the final product.
Yeah.
Yep.
Goku,
Anti-hero.
Vegeta, Naruto, Sasuke, Bakugo, Deku. You have like Natsu Gray and Fairy Tail. It's like you can just go. The list goes on.
Sonic and
on
Shadow.
on and
Oh,
on.
Sonic and
Shadow,
Shadow.
yeah.
Oh man, that one's more on the nose than anything. The whole everything was
Oh, yeah.
Super Sonic and the Chaos
Uno and Asuka
Emeralds.
and Black Clover. Like another one.
Ash and Gary.
You can make the argument for Ash and Gary. You can.
Power Scale Gary.
Well, power scale. Talking about power scaling, Dragon Ball and the idea of key energy, which is a relatively simple concept in the world of Dragon Ball. Either you can channel your energy or you can't. Every other artist or author sought to make their own thing.
Chakra.
Yeah.
Chakra, Haki,
Rietsu, or
spirit
spiritual pressure.
energy,
Like magic energy.
Curse energy.
a
Curse
quirk,
energy.
even a quirk.
Or
Yeah, quirk.
Quirk,
Curses.
the roadmap is Toriyama in Dragon Ball. Like, there's no way people can sit there and be like you go ask Oda and you'd be like, yo, Oda, Where'd you get hockey from? Yeah, I made it up. Get off the top of my dome. Like, nah, there's no way. Shoot. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say just look as far as Luffy. Like Oda, who'd you base Luffy off of? A character that is whimsical, always hungry, only thirsts for battle, is a bit of an idiot outside of battle, but in battle he's a genius. Who do you draw inspiration from? Yeah, well, I don't know. Just
No, like, and honestly, like
not Goku, no.
No, yeah, like the typical, like very aloof, and very kind of like the idiot that's great in battle, like Naruto. Honestly, at the beginning, like, well, yeah, it's like he's an idiot, but in battle, he's actually like pretty freaking smart, and he's really freaking strong. It's like, and you see it like all across kind of like anime, not like Natsu as well in Fairy Tail.
No, the Goku is a very shonen protagonist template when it really comes down to it. Because, yes,
He's
they
the
like to
poster
point
child.
out that you don't have to
Yeah.
be book smart to be, considered smart in other areas. And that's what really kind of capitalizes the character of Goku, is that, yeah, he is an idiot, but his moral code and his, ethics and whatnot.
Also,
He's a genius fighter, man.
and
He's not an idiot, and
also,
he's a genius fighter.
and he's a hard worker.
He
It's
was
like
a hard worker.
because that's like
the-
something that like they try to hammer in Dragon Ball, and even animes that come later. It's kind of like that, quote unquote, like the underdog, like that underdog story that you're just saying, like, hey, because Goku was a low class Saiyan, that then, like, out of nowhere, he beats like the Prince of Saiyans, like kind of like the highest class of Saiyans.
Humility.
I think that was like my favorite in all of Dragon Ball when it comes to like dialogue and interaction, because it's about the fights, and there's some story in there too, but in terms of dialogue, I just love that conversation between Goku and Vegeta, where in the Saiyan saga, where Vegeta is on his high horse. He's like, I'm born of the elite. Low class trash like you can never ever come to the standards that we elite thrive on. And Goku slapping back with like, okay, Kaioken times 4, bitch. And it's just like he gives us, in all seriousness, he gives a speech of like, that we here on Earth believe like anyone can be as strong as the elite if they work hard enough. And it's something so simple. It is something so sweet and straight to the point. And you see it in action in a fight like that, like an underdog going against just this colossal figure that you don't expect to win. And yet somehow they still overcome it.
And I think that is the genius of his writing, because you have characters like Vegeta who look at, the details of one's birth and how they're supposed to be privileged with this power, and that's why Vegeta is also the template for the redemption arc, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Vegeta is not only Vegeta too, but like, speaking of talking about like just one's birth and what you do with your birth, Piccolo is also a great example.
He's a really good one.
Like
he is
honestly,
literally a demon.
Like Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball as a whole is just like filled with these. Like Yamcha starts out off as a villain, becomes one of Goku's biggest allies. Tien starts off as a villain, becomes one of Goku's biggest allies, like along with Shiatsu. And then like Piccolo, same thing, becomes not only one of his greatest allies, but basically like the second father of his son.
Not basically. Not basically.
Not second.
Oh damn. Well, and then you got Vegeta. It's like, which is like the biggest, like I would say like the biggest redemption arc there in Dragon Ball.
And it took him some time too. I always said, with regards to Dragon Ball Z, I feel the story is very simplistic. It is the characters that sell the story more than the story servicing the characters. The characters really are honestly well written when he chooses to write them well. Like, I don't think Yamcha has any growth in like 20 years.
Yamcha became a meme.
That's okay. I'm fine with him being a meme and being right there.
Yamcha became a meme.
Right where he belongs. right. I mean, Krillin has had more growth than Yamcha.
And more deaths than anyone else, but you know.
But Yamcha has fan lore now.
He
He
does.
has his
Oh,
own
that
what if.
Yamcha,
He
that
has his
Yamcha
own what if.
manga.
The
Yeah.
Yamcha manga, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not reading that.
Lore.
That isekai where he's like someone's born inside of Yamcha's body.
Oh God.
Perfection.
I'm okay. I'll pass.
And it's kind of crazy about that too, because like not only just not the like protagonists or like just the good guys, the bad guys are also like iconic in their own ways as well. Like
Yeah.
like Frieza, Cell, Majin Buu, like all of them are even Beerus is they're all unique, not only unique but like they have all the power they represent, and they're always memorable for sure. So
For
just all the
sure.
characters all around, it's just amazing
I
in
don't.
all reality.
Oh,
Oh,
what?
I was gonna say I don't think you can name another manga that has 3 antagonists that line up like Frieza, Cell, Boo in terms
Right.
of iconicness.
I mean, well, because it goes even into their design. Like I look at someone like Frieza, right? Think of like first form Frieza. You know how he looks like the horns, the yes. And as he transforms and he's getting stronger, it kind of follows that initial like expectation like, oh, if he gets stronger, he should be getting bigger. He should be getting, more grotesque. That was just like the template that people expected back then. But then in the ingenious way that Toriyama, wrote into the story, Frieza's final form is the most simplistic out of all of them. It subverts your expectations by just making Frieza, and because think of like second and third form Frieza. I think third form Frieza looked like a xenomorph from Alien.
Oh yeah.
Like he looked disgusting, and it's like, oh my god, and it's funny because and in the story, Krillin, I think it was Krillin, either Krillin or Gohan, maybe it was Gohan. They were thinking because they knew Frieza had one more form left, and they're like, oh my god, what's the final form gonna look like? And there's a thought bubble that one of them has, and you see like basically the third form Xenomorph Frieza, but it had more jagged edges. Like he had like a long tongue now. He had more horns, and it's like they expected him to look grosser and uglier the more he kept transforming. But then he transforms, and it's this smaller, sleek design, no like horns, no like jagged edges. He's smaller. And I feel like Toriyama was ingenious for doing this because it's like, don't underestimate someone based on their looks. Because what was final form Frieza? Yeah, he was the most like simplistic looking character design in terms of like the villain up until that point, but that was the strongest form of that character at the time. I mean, it's crazy.
And he really carries that on even later on, like with Majin Buu.
Majin Buu too.
Kid
Kid
Buu
Buu.
is like the smallest out of all the Boos, and it's
the most powerful.
and it's the most powerful, the most wild,
Most dangerous.
Most dangerous.
Dangerous.
Unhinged.
No, but and even like the villains of Dragon Ball Z have influenced other villains. Like one that didn't even, I think, hide it. Chimera, Ant Arc, and Hunter x Hunter.
Meruem, yeah.
Meruem is literally Frieza.
Oh, I was gonna say Cell. He's literally Cell.
Like, well, he looks.
Meruem, the Ant King.
He looks like a mix between Final Form Frieza and Cell.
Oh, okay, I was getting Cell vibes. I mean, the tail with the needle
like
at the end. I'm like that's Cell.
Yeah, but like the way he stands and like that small size, it gives.
He's got poses. Yeah,
it's
it
a
gives
mix
Frieza.
of Final Form Frieza and Cell.
Yeah,
And
you could make the argument. Yeah,
And they pretty much like put him right there. So not only are like the villains iconic, but they have just like inspired even other villains that came after.
Oh yeah, no.
100%.
Like, there is no old mentor without first thinking of Roshi. If you have an elderly mentor, it's Roshi.
Yep.
an elderly perverted mentor like
Jiraiya.
Jiraiya from Naruto. You
Oh,
don't
there you
get that
go.
without Roshi.
Correct. Absolutely. The list can go on. And that's what makes it so iconic and so influential is that the list can really go on. You
It
know,
can.
Can I also add that it teaches you to go back to that design of Frieza? Throughout the series, you learn that different forms and different techniques is utilized in different situations. And so, like in the Cell arc, when Vegeta and Trunks got too big in their form,
Yes.
they were too slow. Or same with
Right.
Frieza at 100%, too slow.
Right.
Kid
Not
Buu
about-
out of control, smaller, moves around.
It's
So
layers.
you kind of learn a little bit throughout the whole
Right.
thing. It's simple, but you kind of learn these little things that you don't think about.
well, you actually, now that
100%.
you mentioned it, the idea of the ascended Super Saiyan, which was them perfecting the Super Saiyan form.
It was pretty much without expending so much energy. It was
What
like,
the idea of is, we shoot for an ideal image of perfection and strength, but that if we just focus on, this right here and perfect who we are right here and who you are as a person, that should be enough, which is what Goku and Gohan did in their time in the time chamber. And it's subtle. It's very subtle. His character work sometimes, that it can really kind of grow into a bigger idea, which I always liked. I always liked that within the story of Dragon Ball.
No, 100%. Because I mean, one of the earliest lessons that Roshi teaches Goku early on in Dragon Ball was it's not all about the training, right? Like training's important. Like, you gotta train well and, fight well and all that, but you also have to rest well. You have to study well. You have to play well. And I feel like that's an ideology that carries on throughout Dragon Ball. Like in moments like you just said, where it's like Goku and Gohan in the Cell Saga, they were a step ahead of Trunks and Vegeta, who was just focusing on strength. Let's keep training, get stronger, muscles bigger. And that's not how you win the fight at the end of the day. You have to find those quiet moments in between. And I feel like that's a lesson you could take into life even as well. Like it doesn't just stop at the purposes of serving the story of Dragon Ball. That's just life in general, I feel like. But when it comes to even influences, that's the thing, man. Like the more you think about it, like this man's work goes just well beyond even the realm of anime. You get different movies, live action shows, live action TV series, or movies that are different, that don't exist without Dragon Ball. Like I know for like video games, we already mentioned like Sonic. Sonic is like verbatim DBZ. In Sonic, there are files in Sonic 06, Sonic the Hedgehog, the game that came out in 2006. There are files in there for a character called Silver the Hedgehog, and there are character notes from the dev team of that game that has nothing to do with DBZ. There's a cliff note that says Silver the Hedgehog is a hedgehog from the future that's in a dismal future, and he travels back in time to save his future, to change the past basically. And the footnote says, think Trunks from DBZ. It's a literally official footnote in a dev document that says this is Trunks from DBZ. And it's like, it's crazy for like video games. Of all things that have nothing to do with Dragon Ball, it's all there. What you brought it up earlier, Hoop? What? Kingdom Hearts?
Oh yeah. Again, I think
because you can't help yourself.
I think you can make the argument any major rivalry that is a focal point in any type of fiction can be rooted in Dragon Ball Z. Riku and Sora are a Goku and Vegeta template, without a doubt. Like Riku dangles and tangles with the darkness, that power, that succumsion.
Naruto Sasuke,
Uh,
maybe.
Yes, Naruto and Sasuke.
Naruto
of course.
Sasuke, big.
Yes, absolutely. Like without a doubt. And again, it's about this idea that one person can be born to a greater privilege or purpose in life. And the one who came from nothing shouldn't amount to anything. How can he amount to anything? He's dirt. He's trash. He's trailer park trash. He should not be able to do these great things. So no, it really, the influence is there, and it's okay to take from here. It's okay to use Dragon Ball Z as your template, because it, for a good decade of its initial run, that's all you had, you know. That's all you really had to work with. And I'm glad many people worked with it and built from it. And you know, we pushed the limits of creativity and imagination. But no, look, no. I mean, we see it too. I mentioned this earlier. Creed. I mean, I didn't mention on the pod, but Creed. Look at Creed, and the ideas represented. Specifically, Creed 3. Has everybody here seen Creed 3?
Creed 3, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael B. Jordan, as the director, absolutely came out and said, "Yeah, this movie is anime influence. I have a lot of anime in, like, I grew up with. I'm going to try to bring that here." And I get it. Animation's an art form, and what they do in anime, and specifically, you know, we're talking about the work of Toriyama, those fight scenes are cool. To see them, or see someone try to bring it to live action in a boxing ring, which is something realistic. And you know, then we get the iconic, the punch, the Vegeta Goku punch at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got that in that
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
We got that in that movie. We got the iconic punch him in the gut.
Bleh.
Like I welcome these. I welcome these attempts to bring kind of the ideas of animation and mangas to live action, because I think it elevates your work. I really do. So I'm here for it. I would love for more people like Michael B. Jordan to kind of try. I mean, Dr. Jace back in the day in high school used to do this type of stuff with his directorial work.
Oh, yes, I guess.
That counts. That
Okay.
counts.
Yeah.
Can we
does.
see it? Can we see it?
Oh, you might have to release that one.
Deep cut.
Oh, see,
deep
yeah, it's
cut.
on. It's on.
The fans want it, man.
Super Hoop Fighter is on YouTube.
Super
Is that
Hoop Fighter. I
The
think
that
Yonko
accessible?
Table lore.
That's it.
I think so. Yeah, it's on
That-
there.
Okay.
Say no more.
Say no more.
Super
I mean,
Hoop Fighter.
You even use the sound effects from Dragon Ball Z.
I
for the
do.
punches.
I think because it's based off of Street Fighter, and you do a Hadouken, but I put like the Kamehameha
use-
sound
right.
effect.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, no, I as a kid obviously influenced into my work when I was doing like live action stuff. You even see it in like Western cartoons, like
Oh my
Powerpuff
gosh.
Girls, Kids Next Door with number 4 Ku. Everyone remember number 4?
No, and there was
Number
like
4,
there was also like the Fairly Odd Parents movie.
Oh, Mahumushi.
Mahomushi.
Oh, oh, Mushi.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, I forgot about Mahomushi. That's a good one. Yeah.
That's
There's
literally
also the
Dragon Ball
Billy
Z.
and Mandy too.
Oh, the Billy and Mandy Chicken Ball
Chicken.
Z.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I might go watch that episode after we're done here. That's a really funny DBZ reference right there. Do y'all watch Steven Universe?
I do not.
I've seen it.
No, I
Not
mean, I've
all
seen
of it,
little pieces.
But I've
The
of
seen
more-
it.
a chunk of
I
it.
wish Nino was here. The more I was thinking about it today before coming on this pod, Steven Universe is heavily DBZ
Well,
influence.
Garnet is a fusion, no?
Well, I was actually
Oh,
just talking
yeah.
to Dr. Jace about it. The whole concept that fusion is a huge part of that show. Come on, man. How many of us were out here doing the fusion dance at recess?
Yeah, people in like major
Major League
professional
Sporting.
football. Yeah, Major League Sporting. There was those football players that were doing like the fusion dance after like a touchdown.
Yeah.
No, like and even in like in the European soccer leagues over there. Like
Yes.
a ton of them have just like done like the fusion dance when they score a goal, like the one who assisted, it's like wow, like, and they just do the fusion dance right there.
Yeah.
It's like DBZ, like Dragon Ball, like it's just like it's influenced everyone to a certain degree.
I'm telling you, like when it comes to like I put Dragon Ball Z as like in terms of like influence on like a pedestal, like maybe the way someone would put like Star Wars as like influential to
For
a
sure.
culture.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just huge. Like never before have I seen like a celebrity death where different bodies of government from other countries that have nothing to do with Japan pay homage to
Macron, right?
Yeah, the president of France.
Macron was
He's showing an autographed like drawing of Majin Buu and Super Saiyan 3 Goku from Toriyama, and it's like, this is insane. You have the I forget what body of government in China, but I think it's like foreign affairs or something from China, like some body of government. They are mourning the passing, or they at least gave like a notice of like Toriyama's passing. You don't get anything like this. And I'm not trying to say like no future author can get to that status, but at least in recent memory, you're not getting that with anyone else. Like I'm sorry. Like that's crazy. The more I think about it, I'm just blown away.
Well, I think it's also because, you know, again, it's almost 40 years this has been around.
This was his 40th year anniversary.
There you go.
This year.
So with that said, so many people actually grew up with it as part of their childhood. And then when it's brought over to many countries and it's dubbed, it's then part of their childhood. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going from there. I mean, come on, he's still making, you know, Super was still coming out for a whole new generation of people to go ahead and tune into. So it's like he has had a footmark in every decade since its inception. And I mean, look at the games themselves. We still get new Dragon Ball Z games. I'm like, what has this game not done that the others have not done?
Keep them coming. I want more.
No, I need more. Not that I
The
want
more
them
the
to stop.
merrier at that point.
I don't want them to stop, but I'm like, how are y'all making these any different? How are we still doing
We got
this?
Sparking Zero, baby, this year. That's a day one. Day
I don't
one.
understand.
Rose
I
just
don't
left us, but
understand.
he will be with me too. Day one.
I just don't understand how we keep having Dragon Ball Z games come out. It baffles me.
I mean, think about it too. Like, you're right, because it does warrant the question of how many times can you do the same thing over and over again? Because any other series of like games, like at least in the gaming medium, it's like, okay, you make one game for like One Piece or something, right?
Yeah.
Or you make one game for Naruto, and maybe you have a couple sequels here and there, but after a while, it's like, okay, we've exhausted the cow. The cow is dry. It's down to the bone. We've milked it. It's time to move on. Dragon Ball has never once had that happen to it whatsoever. If you got like a 2D fighting game for like 5 years in a row, then they're like, okay, you had 2D. How about a 3D fighting game instead? All right, we're doing that now. And I love it.
I mean, in this scenario, it's actually backwards because they were like mostly 3D, and then they went on.
It went back to 2D.
For fighters,
it went back to 2D.
Yeah. And now they're going back to 3D with Sparking Zero. Like, or if you want an RPG, you have Kakarot. Like, they just Dragon Ball does not get exhausted.
There's also like almost like the build your own character with Xenoverse.
Build your character with Xenoverse.
I liked my black Super Saiyan that I made.
Xenoverse, like my Super Saiyan was just like, I looked at it and I was like, this guy dangerous.
Oh no, listen,
this guy is mean for real.
My Super Saiyan was funny because he was bald, so when he transformed, there was just the aura. There was no actual visible.
I was
gonna give him facial hair like a beard.
I was gonna say,
I didn't give him any hair. I didn't give him any hair. So
mine was mine literally, I think it was like had white hair, red eyes, was just like, I'm just here to kill y'all.
I think my guy's eyes color changed, so that's how you knew he was Super Saiyan. Because Super Saiyans technically their eyes go green.
Yeah, I mean you have the aura change too. That's
I mean, but like physical appearance, nothing actually changed,
right.
which I found hilarious. I was like, yeah, he's about to do it. Then I was like, wait a minute, I didn't
It
give
would
him
have been really
hair.
funny if he
made him
like grew
bald.
hair, like legit grew like a little tuft of hair. It's like, huh!
Oh, and then it, when he powers down, just recedes back into his
Or
Exactly.
just like
like
the
a
beard
fishing
would be
line.
like,
Exactly.
But I lived out that fantasy through that game. That was great. That was fun.
I mean, yeah, it's so timeless that I feel like to no degree it would get tiring. Yeah, we're getting Dragon Ball Z games this year. We're getting more Dragon Ball stuff next year and the next year and the next year. This year alone, and I kind of find it poetic in a way, and like it's almost kind of creepy, but at the same time, it's like, wow, that's kind of it's kind of nice. The way that it kind of came together this year, Dragon Ball Daima
Oh,
airs.
Yeah.
the baby
The
Looney Tunes one.
the baby gosh, sure, the baby Looney Tunes one. Um, for those that don't know, that's a series that Toriyama it's a new Dragon Ball series that Toriyama had heavy influence in, more than Super. Super, he kind of had like footnotes here and there and like, okay, yeah, do
yeah,
this,
like
but
super, and like
whatever.
super, he wasn't writing it alone. Also,
Right.
he had a co-writer.
He had a co-writer and he has like a rough draft. He's not as involved as people think he was in Super. He was there, but he wasn't penning like every single piece of every single arc. Daima is a different story. And Daima, as Grandmaster Hoop so graciously put it, is baby Looney Tunes. But think about it like this. It's back, like it's the furthest in the timeline right before the end of Z. And it goes back to what put Toriyama on the map, Goku as a kid. And you're getting this whimsical adventure of like, from the trailers, there's old school martial arts. You have the power pole, the Nyoibo back in fray. I mean, it's so weird that the man passes as he comes back to the same spot that put him on the map, which was, doing Kid Goku again, martial arts again. And this is right before the ending of Z where he ended it all. I think that's almost kind of poetic in a way. It's like, man, what are the odds?
I would say in a way, it's also kind of like a redo of GT, because GT they tried to go with Kid Goku and that did not go well. The only good thing that came out of GT was Super Saiyan 4.
Right. I mean, yeah, more or less GT in a way, but I don't know. It just seems kind of nice.
It's serendipitous, I think is the word you're looking.
Is that the word? Define serendipitous.
Serendipitous, where the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way.
Okay. I think I described that. This is
Yes, I think
serendipitous.
correct. I think you did.
Pretty much.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously I didn't want him to like pass.
No,
from
nobody
this
wanted
happening.
that. Right.
But the fact that it just so happens as he comes full circle with where he originated with from Goku, and I think that's part of the charm too. You read his story from childhood to adulthood, and that's, I don't know, that's just part of the beauty of it. We're still getting more stuff from Dragon Ball for the years to come. I mean, we got Dragon Ball Super still going on in the manga. We have Dragon Ball Daima. And I'm sure Toriyama has left like maybe some notes, some manuscripts on like where he wanted the story to go. Because like, again, he was still working on new stuff for his series. And I'm sure they'll adapt some of it as they go on, but without the man, like after a certain point that they'll have exhausted his ideas, and then Dragon Ball is no longer the same anymore. You don't have the OG guy here to carry us through.
Yeah, I think like the most similar that this has happened like in anime was Berserk, Kento Miura.
Yeah.
Like Miura, like Berserk still is going, like the manga.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be like very similar when it comes to that.
Right. With Dragon Ball, there's at least a scenario where it's like Toriyama kind of has a bit of a protege through Toyotaro, who is the current, like, he's the one that's kind of like drawing and doing the story of Dragon Ball Super, the manga. Um, and if for those that don't understand the relationship, if you know Star Wars, think George Lucas and Dave Filoni. Like
Ah,
Dave Filoni,
Hmm.
protege of George Lucas. If anything were to happen to George Lucas, knock on wood, don't do anything to him. But if anything were to happen, the protege to carry on the torch as best as he could would be Dave Filoni. In this scenario, it's kind of Toyotaro, who had a lot of direct influence with Toriyama.
well, it's
So,
good. I'm glad he has, you know, however unfortunate his passing was, I'm glad that he found someone to trust his legacy with,
right.
you know.
Just keep on that torch coming.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, and obviously this affected the manga and anime community as well, to where you have all the mangakas from so many different series coming out and, you know, sharing their thoughts on the passing of Toriyama. You have Oda from One Piece, Kishimoto from Naruto, and man, some of these letters, man, they were gut punches. Some of them were like, Kishimoto's, I felt like, got me the most. Because I don't know if did any of you read Kishimoto's
I
letter?
read it.
I did
I
not.
Yeah,
read
Red
it.
Kishimoto.
Kishimoto's letter. I mean, Kishimoto's letter was beautiful from like top to bottom, but he says something at the end where he's like, and I'm paraphrasing for the most part. He says, I wish the Dragon Balls were real because I know what my wish would be. It would be very selfish, I understand, but this pain right now is unbearable. And I'm like, oh man, that just,
That's tough.
that is, it really is. That's a gut punch.
Yeah, just conceptually, you know, that's the heart of a lot of the Dragon Ball stories, is bringing back your loved ones.
Yeah.
You know, and if you could have one wish, oh man, yeah, that hurts.
Right. Right. And I mean, it's tough. I know I was going through a slew of emotions the day of. I was like, oh man, what, damn, that's rough. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of messing me up myself too. Jesus. But as you can tell, our love for Dragon Ball is infinite. Do any of you play any of the other stuff like from Toriyama? Like, I know Bombastic, you mentioned Chrono Trigger. But I played some Dragon Quest here and there. Read some Sandland. But obviously my heart is with Dragon Ball. But anyone else like around Toriyama's work outside of Dragon Ball?
Mostly Dragon Ball.
Mostly Dragon Ball. That's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what most
Dragon
of us are
Ball,
from.
although like I started watching like the Dragon Quest anime on
Right.
Netflix
All right. Yeah, you did mention
literally
Dragon
the day
Quest.
before his passing.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to Chrono Trigger, for me, it was just like it's a game that was already bought, so like I just had it because it was for the Super Nintendo, so it was just there. So I was just like, oh well, I'll just play the game. I never knew anything about Toriyama at that point as well, and then like I said, I never finished the game, so I never actually understood the whole concept of the game. But once I realized that Akira Toriyama was behind it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That kind of opened up like a whole new like memory back up.
I mean, you mentioned you mentioned even Toriyama there for like video games, and it just popped into my head. Even a game which recently had a release, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right? Obviously a remake of the original Final Fantasy VII that came out in the mid to late 90s on the PS1. If you look at Cloud's sprite from the PS1, that is verbatim Teen Gohan from the Cell Saga. Same hair, same color, style, same outfit, the purple getup with the red sash. That's just Teen Gohan, and it's just crazy the more you think about it. This man's work touches has at some point touched something in all of this. It's just wild, man. Very wild. But
Indeed.
yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly what we wanted to say here. Just like kind of like a celebratory piece of Toriyama, his work, his influence on Dragon Ball, how we received Dragon Ball. I mean, I could tell you the number of friendships that I made throughout the years, just not necessarily tied to Dragon Ball, but because of our love for anime in general. It's like, oh, Dragon Ball played a role in this, because if that didn't exist, I would not have met this person or this person and been friends with them or whatever. But like any final thoughts in general on just Dragon Ball or Toriyama, or just in general?
Like, rest in peace to the legend.
For sure, rest in peace, rest in power.
Rest in power.
It's going to be
Way over.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting watching everything back in, because I'm definitely going to be watching Z at least at one point soon enough. So it's going to be pretty interesting watching all of that, knowing now that he passed away.
Right. Grandmaster.
No, I mean, I think we said it all. His work transcends his life at this point, and I think it will forever transcend generations. I don't see Dragon Ball going anywhere anytime soon.
Like, his legacy, like, is timeless. I know, like, he died, but he's truly immortal.
Yeah, no, I honestly feel like some of these other animes and mangas that he's inspired will eventually die out. Not die out, but like lose popularity in time. But I don't think Dragon Ball Z ever will. It's crazy.
It never will.
That it hasn't already, to be honest.
Dragon Ball Z is the poster child of anime for like the Western world. It's
I would say even for
no, but like,
Eastern as well.
It's like, you think anime, the first thing that's gonna come to anyone's head, even if they don't even watch anime, is Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball franchise was a bridge, so it bridged cultures, civilizations. It really did, and again, you owe it all to the work of Akira Toriyama and his, imagination and his creativity. And I thank him for a great part of my childhood and a great part of my adulthood too. I'm still very much into this stuff. Here we are talking about it. So
I know a lot of people talk about the big three, as in Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, but there wouldn't be a big three if it wasn't for Dragon Ball.
Exactly. Dragon Ball was the biggest influence in a lot of our childhoods, and just pushing anime as a medium outside of Japan, so we can all appreciate it and talk about. Our whole pod's based off of One Piece. We don't have a pod without Dragon Ball to an extent.
Very true.
So, but yeah, I say that kind of wraps up our thoughts here on the Yonko table on the passing of Toriyama. Again, more of a commemoration piece to celebrate the man's life, the man's work, his influence on our relationships and how we formed friendships, and just, our enjoyment of the medium that is Dragon Ball and anything outside of Dragon Ball. So I think it'll be a tough time moving forward without, someone of this caliber with us anymore. But I'm sure we'll still stay tuned for Dragon Ball, and hopefully the torch can be carried on. But even if it ends here, Dragon Ball is forever immortalized. And in a way, Toriyama is immortal through his work. You never forget about him. he's always there. But yeah, with that, everyone, I think we're gonna wrap it up here at the Yonko table. I'm your Yonko host, Dr. Jace Attorney, fellow Yonko Grandmaster Hoop, Supernova's Bombastic, Dr. Mondo, and Rose the Crafter signing off. And hopefully, as Oda put it best for Toriyama, I hope heaven is as beautiful as you envisioned it. See you next time, folks.